I said before about how when I started rewatching Dino Thunder, I was hoping that I would see something in it that I was missing before. I'd finally be able to see what it was so many fans saw in it, what made so many fans say this was their favorite season, what made so many fans say that this is the best Power Rangers season. And then I get to an episode like this one. I am not seeing it, unfortunately. I'm sorry, everyone out there who's a Dino Thunder fan, but this is just. This is bad. This episode is bad. It doesn't go anywhere. It's a lot of padding. And, surprise, it's a multi-parter episode. When I was doing my rewatch of Ninja Storm, every time I had to talk about a multi-part episodes, not a lot of them were very good. Out of all the multi-part episodes of Ninja Storm, how many of them were actually good? Not many. Summary. The evil White Ranger has found a Dinozord egg and he's trying to activate it. Meanwhile, Cassidy and Devin are checking out some alleged footage of the White Ranger that Cassidy got from some kid. She plays it, and the footage is just the kid in a costume yelling sucker at them. That was necessary? Why did the kid go to so much trouble just to prank someone? Trent comes into the cyberspace cafe and he's really tired. He doesn't know why. And he ends up collapsing, and Haley sends him home. Cassidy chases down the kids who sold her the fake White Ranger footage. She corners them, and this kid with an old woman's voice tells her that he really does have the footage, and so then Cassidy lets him go to get it. Connor and Kira find the White Ranger and try to keep him from the Dinozord egg. Mesagog orders his minions to make a new monster. They make Angor, and I only know his name because he says it a lot for some reason. This is another weird thing I've noticed in the recent Power Ranger episodes, that we'll have a string of episodes with monsters with names that you'll never guess. They'll say it maybe once in an episode, and then it'll be in the end credits, maybe. Then all of a sudden you'll have a monster who repeatedly says their own name over and over again like a Pokemon. Just thought that was interesting, that, so far in Dino Thunder, none of the monsters have names that are memorable at all, or that are even stated clearly in the episodes, for the most part. But then we have this guy, Angor, who yells Angor a lot. Anyway, he's totally pointless, pretty much. He's just a distraction. He attacks the city while Disney's crappy stock music plays. Disney's stock music just keeps going and going in this episode, and it gets really frustrating. Connor and Kira leave the White Ranger to go deal with the monster. Tom and Ethan, meanwhile, find a hatched Dinozord egg, the Parasaur Zord, and they try to tame it. Connor and Kira join Tommy and Ethan and tell them about the monster. Tommy then leaves to go stop the White Ranger. Zeltrax holds Tommy back, and that fight goes on for a short eternity. Tommy's too late because of dealing with Zeltrax for so long, and the White Ranger hatches his own Zord, the Drago Zord. Cassidy and Devin, meanwhile, are waiting for that kid with the old woman voice to show up. Eventually, he shows up with a gang of kids that pelt Cassidy and Devin with garbage. That was necessary. Back with the Rangers, they face off with the White Ranger's Drago Zord, and that's the end. Kind of anticlimactic. They couldn't even have him, be fighting the Rangers and winning. No, he's just standing there, and the episode is over with. This whole episode is just stuff happening to fill time. The only thing important that happens here is Trent gets his Dinozord, and that doesn't even happen until way at the end, within the last couple of minutes. This could have been a two-parter. They could have cut out all this garbage with Cassidy and Devin, and the Rangers jumping back and forth between the stupid Parasaur egg and the monster, and whatever else nonsense somehow stretched this plot to 22 minutes. Ethan has some dumb lines this time around. At the beginning, when Trent shows up really tired, Ethan says, "Whoa, man, you look like you just had a run-in with some fictional video game character that he made up, and sounds really fake." The joke doesn't work, and I know that the focus of the joke is that the joke is dumb and doesn't work, but What is up, Ethan? This is really stupid. The other dumb thing that Ethan says is when Tommy is showing them the dinosaur eggs on his computer screen thing, and Ethan says, "Well, this must be what prehistoric Easter was like." Yep, prehistoric Easter, Haley doesn't come off the best either. When she sees Trent suddenly collapse, she doesn't seem to take it very seriously. She's even, like, joking around. I don't know if she's trying to keep the mood light for Trent's sake, or, like, is this just genuinely how she reacts to this kind of situation? Maybe it's, like, I don't know, a defense mechanism or something, but regardless, Trent never gets a resolution in this episode, so Cassidy and Devon's plot this time is really dumb, and it's infamous among fans due to the extraordinarily poor dubbing of the little kid in it. Now, I don't know what exactly the reason was for why the kid had to be re-looped, his whole dialogue had to be redone. I've heard two different reasons, both are very possible, both are kind of weird. The first one is simply there was an audio error. Something went wrong with his microphone, or the sound wasn't picked up, or there was wind, and they had to re-record everything, and the kid wasn't available to redub his own dialogue. That's fine, that's understandable. Still questionable why in the world they chose the voice that they did to dub this little kid. The other reason is a lot stupider. The kid couldn't hide his accent. Now, the Disney seasons are all shot in New Zealand and use a lot of New Zealand extras, including kids occasionally. And kids, they're not all able to hide their New Zealand accents. But in this case, did it really matter? I think, because either way, his voice is gonna come off a little strange. And I think the better choice would have been just let him keep his New Zealand accent. It's why I like to think that there was like an audio error that they just didn't notice until the last second, and they just had to reloop his dialogue with whoever happened to be around, which happened to be an old woman, most likely. But if it was simply because of he couldn't hide his accent, like, that is such a stupid reason. Power Rangers takes place in America. There can be kids with accents somewhere. Like, I don't know, maybe his family just moved in. Maybe that's why he's trying to scam Cassidy. He wants some extra money because his parents aren't really giving him. Maybe they can't afford to give him an allowance because of the cost of moving to the U.S. or something. Am I thinking way too deep about this? Probably, but that's really all there is to think about in this episode, because the rest of this episode is just frickin' stupid. The whole plot with Cassidy and these kids doesn't really go anywhere. She gets scammed, then she gets garbage thrown at her. It's not really funny, it doesn't really accomplish anything, it doesn't add to their characters, it doesn't mean anything to the plot, it's not setting up anything. This kid with the old woman voice, he never comes back again, from what I remember. So, yeah, this was all completely pointless. Mesogog's newest monster doesn't serve any purpose, he just makes it because it seems like a thing to do. Like, Mesogog doesn't have a plan this episode or anything. The Parasaur Zord is kind of weird because it just sort of tames itself. Like, I don't know, since it's established that the Rangers use telepathy to tame the Zords, I guess it's something they don't have to visually show us. We can just assume, oh, Tommy used telepathy to tame the Parasaur Zord, whatever. This really got me thinking about the Zords in this season and how, despite them being living things, they suffer from a lack of personality. I really think there should have been some focus on the Zords. Give them some personality. Make them, like, secondary characters. Give them a character. Instead of focusing on Cassidy, Devon, that stupid kid that had to be redubbed, and all that garbage they got thrown at them, focus on the Zords. That's more interesting. That's something, like, actually fantasy sci-fi, what Power Rangers is supposed to be about. Maybe they couldn't use all the footage from Abba Ranger, but, I mean, it's not even a very good CGI model. I'm assuming that they could probably, like, request from Toei, I don't know, whatever the source was for the CGI that they used to make the Zord, so they could add in a few shots of, like, here's just the Zord standing against somewhere and green screen Tommy in or something, talking to the Zord. Or one of the other Rangers talking to the Zord. The other thing, Abba Ranger did have a focus on the Zords and it made them characters, and I think in this case it would really help them not to fight against the footage that's available. The whole ending to this episode is incredibly anticlimactic. We get Tommy and Zeltrax fighting again, and Zeltrax is such a boring nothing at this point. All he does is kiss up to Mesagog and fight Tommy. Why is he such a popular character? I do not understand Zeltrax's popularity. Like, is it because he's cool looking? Like, yeah, he's cool looking. Doesn't have much of a character at all. Like, especially at this point, he's just frickin' nothing. I know later on there'll be more of a backstory revealed with him, and I don't remember liking that either. Like, I haven't rewatched this in quite a while, so I'll have to save my judgment for when I actually get to it. But for now, Zeltrax is like one of the most boring Power Ranger villains like ever. Like, he doesn't even have something like Olympius had. Like, Olympius, I hated Olympius, but that's more because he was kind of a whiny, snotty mama's boy, and I frickin' hated him for that. But that's something. Zeltrax doesn't have anything. He's really loyal to Mesagog, and that's about it. Zergain 2.0, I guess. Except, I don't know, even Zergain had a little bit more going for him. Zergain had a few humorous moments. He had a few teensy little moments peppered in there that made him slightly better than just super loyal minion willing to do anything. With Zeltrax, the one interesting aspect they had going with him was his son Goldenrod. And even that, they kind of screwed up by just forgetting Goldenrod existed after his initial episode. The White Ranger gets his Zord, and then it just ends. We don't get, like, anything with him fighting the Rangers, and the Rangers are losing. It's just, he's standing there with his Zord. That's good enough to be an ending. So this is a big step down from the first part of this multi-parter, which was actually kind of okay, and I liked it. Despite some little issues here and there, which were mostly little nitpicky things anyway. And I'm thinking, yeah, really feels like a Ninja Storm multi-parter, where the plot just meanders around and gets distracted by nonsense until it sputters to its conclusion. Will part 3 be better? I don't know. So yeah, this episode beats Beneath the Surface for worst episode of Dino Thunder so far. Beneath the Surface was at least watchable. This thing, I can't imagine going back to watch this again. And, you know, I remember a while ago I said that the White Ranger episodes I remembered really liking as a kid. I should clarify, I remembered liking some of it. This episode in particular, I didn't remember specifically that it was one of the White Ranger episodes, but I remembered that scene with the kid and how most of the episode just kind of does whatever until it ends. So yeah. White Thunder Part 2 sucks. Worst episode so far. And I know there's at least 2 or 3 or other episodes of Dino Thunder I really didn't like in the past. Will my opinion change on those? I don't know. Bye.